Guys, today we're going to talk about creating some logos in Adobe Illustrator. Now, I just want to start with a little bit of an overview on logos and what they are. Now, you guys all know what logos are. You've seen them every day of your life, and you can probably recognize most of the ones that you see. So you're probably familiar with this concept of a logo. A logo is really a simple visual representation of a brand. Sometimes they incorporate text or the name of the brand, and sometimes they don't. If we think about, Instagram, it's just a camera. It doesn't say Instagram. Google now is really just some incorporation of 4 colors, Google Maps and Chrome and everything else like that. And we are actually getting so logo design goes through trends just like fashion design, and the new trend is really to keep it as sleek and simple as possible. So just to sort of show this and show a little bit of the history, I thought it'd be fun to look at some old original logos of a brand. So this here I have is the original logo of Chanel. It has the sort of suit of armor and very ornate sort of decoration around this sort of shield, almost looks like a coat of arms. And then the recognizable logo of Chanel, which is what we see today. It's been pared down. And even a lot of times when you see it, it won't even say Chanel anymore. It'll just be the 2CC. So that's sort of the trend of today, is to sort of pare down and simplify those logos. Here's a collection of, again, probably very recognizable for you logos of specifically fashion items. So as you can see, fashion brands tend to use text, although not all. As you can see, the Nike logo is just the swoosh, as they say. Some incorporate text and an image. Say like Puma with the Puma. I was going to say kitty cat, but it's a Puma. The Converse, also called All Stars, with there, or just very, very, very simple, elegant, well-chosen fonts and typography for some of our logos here. Some have a little bit, so the New Balance, sort of, their running shoes, so makes it look a little fast like that. Some do some clever things with the typography. So here is Under Armour, the U, of course, for the under, and then another U kind of inverting, looks like the A, Under Armour, UA, la la la. Take a look at some more. So again, this is sort of, again, the history of our logos. This is the history of the Gucci logo. So this was the sort of brand logo, very, very brass tacks, a lot of more information, a lot busier, a lot more text than you'd see today. And we do see it sort of pared down, got pretty fancy in the 50s though. Then we incorporated that along with making the brand name itself a little bit larger. By 1992, they dropped the old logo and been simplifying it ever since. This is actually one of my favorite logos. I think it's very funny, and it really tells a lot. So Levi's was the first type of jeans that were invented, and they were really invented and marketed towards gold miners. It was during the California-San Francisco gold rush. And Levi Strauss, real dude, invented this style of pants made from very, very, very strong fabric denim. And he created this new construction where everything's reinforced and nice new type of seam and strong stitching, and riveted the pockets on there, and sold them to the miners because they needed something that was incredibly strong and would hold up. And to advertise, he made the logo. If you see, you've probably seen this logo 100 times, but maybe you didn't notice what was going on in it. But it's a pair of Levi jeans tied to 2 horses, and men whipping them to go in opposite directions. But of course they can't, because the jeans are just that strong. Well, today they certainly aren't, but back then they may have been. Here we go, another logo that you're probably well familiar with, the Louis Vuitton. And if I zoom in here, because that old logo, look how fanciful that old logo was. Look at how much detail, look how much stuff is going on in that old logo. You would never see a logo like that today, although I kind of like it. They, of course, have gone through different iterations of their logo. So this was their original logo. And this is their modern day logo here. See how much more simple it is. And again, there is it's not just a trend. The simplicity of a logo makes it easier to quickly identify and recognize to the consumer. So there's a lot of that going on too. Now, this one isn't fashion, but it's also an interesting logo and one that we've probably all seen. And it, as well as all the other ones, it might not be as old as some of those fashion brands, but it certainly has gone through its own reinventing of the logo. We see the original mermaid was much more lifelike, much more detailed, a little bit more risque, let's say. And as we sort of move on, we simplify the mermaid. She gets simplified, and then now the modern logo doesn't even include the text, doesn't include the full two-tailed mermaids, which honestly, that's a little confusing. Mermaid with two tails. It's a little confusing, no? Anywho, but we all recognize this rose logo. Maybe they wanted to focus just on the face and something or so on. Anyway, so that's a sort of little bit of a history of logos and maybe something to sort of in your mind get you to think about what you would like your logo to look like. So I don't really have too much more to show you in Illustrator as far as logo design goes. But I do have a few things that I haven't shown you yet, and especially specifically working with the text tool, because as you can see, there probably will be text in your logo of some kind. Now, of course, you can build your own font using the pen tool, or you can use a font that is pre-selected and maybe just alter it a little bit or portray it in a way that you like. So you know how to use the text tool. It's the T over here. We can click and we get text, text, text. You know, of course, that with the black arrow, I can size that text any way I want. I can squish it up skinny. I can lay it down flat. I can make it big, small, move it around. If you would like a different font, Illustrator has a lot of fonts to choose from. If you come up here to type and go to font, you can see all of the very many text. Just press that little arrow down, fonts that they have to use from. You can also go online and look for different fonts, and there is a way to download a font and then load it into Illustrator if you want to try that. There we go. That looks a bit more elegant, no? Text, text. Okay, so what else can we do? Well, our text has properties just like any object. So we can create a stroke or outline for our text, as well as a different fill color. All of the text will automatically fill black with no stroke. But let's say I do want a stroke, and I want it to be, oh, I don't know, purple. I can make it thicker, which will also result in making it bolder, just to sort of show you. Now it's gotten to the point where my stroke is now too thick. I don't even see any of the black fill anymore, but you can play around with the stroke, it's sort of like making it bold, bolder, bold, 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 bold. It can have kind of a cool effect. But you might need to space out, add some spaces in between your letters if it does get a little too squished, let's say. But hey, that might be something that's part of your aesthetic. I don't know. Just like before too. Ooh, let's get back on here. You can change our fill. So you can really make it as colorful as you want. And there's a few other text options that I just want to point out to you. So you're all familiar with our horizontal text, but if we hold down the text tool, we have a couple other options. There's a vertical type tool that will type vertically. Pretty simple. Oops. Down here, at the very bottom of your properties menu, you can go ahead and change it. It will have a bold option. Sometimes they bold it, sometimes they have other options down here, but this is what you're used to sort of seeing in your text documents. You can change the font size, so on and so forth. Your paragraphed options, center it, and whatever else, but you guys know what these means. You've seen them in Word documents and things like that. Now, what's really cool about Illustrator, which is pretty unique, now we have of course, horizontal text option and most everything, and even a vertical text option in most things. But what's neat in Illustrator is it has a text along line options. What does that mean? Well, we have made plenty of lines in Illustrator. So I'm just going to make one more. I'll nil fill it for now and bump up the stroke a little bit so we can see it nice. But what I can do is I can use that line to type along. So that is the Type on a Path tool. So if I select that and then come down here, all right, I'm going to select it first. Sometimes it reads it better if I go ahead and select the line that I want to do first. And as you can see, it will write whatever I want, just moving along this line. Pretty neat. So this way we can incorporate maybe it around a different image, or we can use a shape too. I can do this with a circle or a square if I want text in some sort of shape going around, or anything else like that. So for instance, if I wanted, shape in a star. So let's go ahead and do that. Let me just get a nice line, or maybe not. Maybe I want a nice sort of star like that. And it does sort of make that stroke invisible, as you can tell, but I should be able. You can always go back with another line or copy and paste another line if you want like an underlined shape like that. So let's say I want, let's make my text a little bit smaller. So I can go ahead and just get a star shape as I go around. So pretty neat, huh? So any sort of shape that you want, again, because we can make any shape we want with the path, and then we can use that tool to make any shape out of our text. Okay, so one more thing I want to show you that I haven't shown you before, and it may or may not be something you want to play around with your logo, but it will inevitably come up at some point when you're trying to render things in Illustrator, and it can be really helpful, and that is to use a gradient. So let's say I have a shape, and it could be any shape that I want. We have the option of not necessarily filling it with a solid color or pattern, because we've made print patterns too, but to use a gradient. What's that? Well, you know that this is the fill, this is the color that will come in here. In the middle of our sample swatch, which is usually the last color that you used in our nail fill, is this one here. Now I was using it, so it usually just by default is a gradient between black and white, but I was playing around with it, so I have a color already preloaded in there, which would be green. And this gradient, as you can see, will fade from one color to the other. So this can make some really nice effects, and especially if you are doing, color rendering on flats. There's sometimes a lot of ombre dyes or dip dyes where you have this color fade, and this is a great, great way to render those things. So here, automatically you'll start with a two-color gradient, one color over here on the left and one color over here on the right. You can adjust how it fades with this guy. So if I want it to be more green, it basically, this is the middle point where it's, the middle point between white and green. But if I want kind of more green and a shorter fade into white, I can do that. Or, even if I slide it all the way over here, it's just mostly green and then a little bit of fade into white right there. Or, of course, I can go the opposite way as well. I can change the color of either of these. I can double click on here and we'll get a nice little color picker. We have the abbreviated color picker here, or I can choose right up here, or we can choose by hex code or anything else. So let's say I want blue or whatever else. And of course, this one's left at white, but I can change that to any other color as well. So I can also add colors into this. So again, like I said, it's going to start with a two color, but if I want another one, all I have to do is somewhere in between these two guys is click again. Oop. Right? Okay. Just click a whole bunch of times until it opens for you. You should get that. So see that little plus sign? Again, look for those little, sometimes you got to make your mouse dance around a lot to get those different icons. But that plus sign will give you, see, it'll give you a new tab. And you can add a new color in there. So say maybe I want some pink in here. And maybe I want some, I don't know, yellow in here. And you can make, things as colorful as you want. And then you can slide them around to distribute them, so on and so forth. And they'll each get their own little midway point. At some point, you might say, whoa, that's too many colors. It looks kind of ugly. So to get rid of it, click and drag it down, and it will simply just delete it. Be careful. So if you see here, pink and green kind of go nicely together, but they're not, I'm going to say analogous on the color wheel, but most of you haven't taken color theory yet. But if you can see here, this pink fades nicely into blue, because pink and we get that nice sort of purpley in the middle. But pink and green, especially since it's a very kind of bluish purpley green, it doesn't fade so nice. We get kind of this blah in the middle here, whereas here we get that nice rich purple. So, some colors just blend a little bit nicer than others. So, always just consider that as well. Along with our gradient, we have other types of gradients. So I can, make it sort of fade out, which is kind of sometimes can be a very dramatic background to an object. If I placed an object right here, we get this sort of glowing aura around it. And then we get this sort of weird freeform one, which just kind of has these freeform points, that we can just sort of play with, and it gives you this sort of, I don't know, kind of, you know, blended feeling of a background. I've never used this one, but I could see how it would work, especially with sort of maybe a mood board background and you get your color swatches in there or whatever. Again, that's how you can play with your gradients. And there's a lot of things that will accept gradients too. So for instance, this our text, I'm pretty sure, don't make me eat my words, Illustrator. We can apply gradient even to text. Oops. Let me zoom in on this guy and make him bigger and try it out. So let's make him really nice and big. So anything that we do. So here we have, again, our fill and our stroke. Make that stroke a little bit smaller because I want to fill the fill. Here's my fill, it's on top. So if I click that gradient, oops. Oh, it doesn't want to fill text with gradient. I swear I've done it that it was worked, but most things, most other shapes, you can go ahead and fill with a gradient. I guessed, though, it doesn't like to do it on text. So, it just said no and filled in black. But maybe at some fonts it'll work, some fonts it works. I swear I've used it and it did work, but maybe I'm wrong. So those are the last sort of just few little techniques I wanted to show you in Illustrator before you go ahead and play around with it and create your own logo. So have fun. I can't wait to see what you come up with, and I'll see you in the next video. This is the last video. I hope you had a good semester.